counsel that was already investigating Hunter, but now he has special counsel status. He was just appointed. I want to talk back that in a second here. And then there's a couple other things I want to talk about in the second half of the show. I know everybody's talking about Oliver Anthony, his Rich Men North of Richmond song, and why that's resonating with Americans. I want to talk about that. COVID is back, apparently, guys. Get your masks. Get them out. There's fires everywhere. They're saying it's global warming. It could be funny business. We should talk about that, too, if we have time. But I want to bring in my first guest. He's been on this show a couple of times. He's a former DOJ attorney, brilliant guy. He goes by the infamously anonymous handle of Crypto Lawyer. Crypto Lawyer, welcome to the show. Can you hear us out here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome to the show. So I heard,
hey,
I'm sure you heard my rant and raves. Let me get your opinion on this real quick, and then we'll get into it.
I did. Yeah. Listen, Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, man.
Yeah.
That's what I used to charge legitimate criminal enterprises, right? Another legal word for the people. Criminal enterprise. That is what they're doing in Georgia. I'll bounce off that real quick. Whether the clerk made a mistake and those are his charges, or whether there was a mistake that's what the grand jury is going to vote on, it doesn't matter. That's what he's going to get if that is true. If that is true, that's what the grand jury is going to vote on. They're going to vote those right down. They're going to go right down and mark them down. True bill of indictment.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hunter Biden, man, as slippery as a snake that Mark Naughton is trying to catch in the middle of the night when he's just got out of a bath of oil.
Mark Naughton's the independent journalist that's been on the show several times for my listeners. Yeah, awesome guy.
Great.
I don't know what he does in bathtubs with snakes and oil, but let's just leave that in the record as deemed true.
Yes, he's great. But listen, David Weiss, right? Part of DOJ, going after Hunter, looking at Hunter, and then what does he do with Hunter Biden? Gives him a sweetheart deal where at the end of the day, the judge asked a couple of questions and the entire deal falls apart because Hunter's attorneys, as if that deal wasn't great enough. And I know that soon you're going to have to go to break and we'll talk about it after, but David Weiss, the deal that he gave Hunter Biden was absolutely ridiculous. Everyone that I've ever had with Hunter Biden's charges have gone to the Bureau of Prisons, and it wasn't good enough for Hunter. Hunter wanted immunity further because I'm assuming from a political perspective, even though his dad's on the way out, this time, next time, who knows? It could be Newsom, it could be his dad again, but his dad can't really pardon his son, right? That's bad optics. So what do? We have a plea deal, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And then after Weiss becomes compromised, here's the best part. Weiss is still DOJ, and he gets appointed special counsel
right
to investigate Hunter Biden, the guy who just got the best deal in the world.
Well, and the best deal in the world fell apart because it was so corruptly put together.
It was too good. It
wasn't even too good. And if you recall, they tried to take the gun charge and make him immune for any prosecution based on the FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. So basically, for the listeners out there, what Hunter did was he went and made a bunch of money, basically, in with other countries, peddling, and this is what's being investigated, peddling influence with the president of the United States. Apparently, Joe Biden was on some of these calls. He probably thought he was in the drive-thru to get ice cream. But he was on the phone, and none of this, you have to register if you're going to go do business, and he didn't do that. Place. And then they were like, wait, Hunter, you're still investigating Hunter? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, how are we going to make him immune? No, you can't. And the whole thing falls apart. This is the same guy who tried to do all of that. And they're like, and now the big criticism right now the Republicans are saying is they're saying the reason why Merrick Garland has appointed this special prosecutor or this special investigator is because they want to insulate him from congressional oversight. What do you think about that? And you're right, we do need to go to break. How do you know we need to go to break? Are you just that savvy with media that you're like, it's time to go to...
No, not at all. I just, well, with you, I either hear the music or I just know, listen, there are lots of big wig, high paying companies that want on this show. And I know that you have to take breaks because listen,
we
the
got to
bills
pay
have
the
to get
bills.
paid up there.
We got to pay the bills. That's right. Well, think about what I just asked you about the insulation from Congress while we go to break. And so you guys don't go anywhere. We're going to go to a quick break. Crypto Lawyer is going to be here. Gabe likes this song, so he's blasting it for you guys. And we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back. Crypto Lawyer is going to be here. We're going to continue to talk about Hunter Biden. We're going to get into the Trump stuff. Lots of fun on the David Pollack Show tonight in the newest studio. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. True colors. David Pollack here. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more information on any of our sponsors, or perhaps you want to hear a replay of a past show, make sure to visit thedavidpollackshow.com. There, you'll also find our latest articles, links to our social media, and opportunities to become a sponsor yourself. So remember to visit thedavidpollackshow.com. Did you know that every 40 seconds, someone in the United States suffers a stroke? And every 3 minutes and 14 seconds, someone dies from a stroke? These statistics are staggering, but even more surprising is the fact that stroke can affect people of all ages, with 1 in 7 stroke sufferers being younger than 49. The Scott Coopersmith Stroke Awareness Foundation is on a mission to spread awareness about stroke in younger individuals. In 2009, Scott Coopersmith passed away unexpectedly from a stroke at just 32 years old, leaving behind a wife and a child. The foundation was started in his memory to connect stroke sufferers with the resources they need to overcome this devastating condition. If you want to help young families struggling with the impact of stroke, consider making a donation to the Scott Coopersmith Stroke Awareness Foundation. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of those affected by stroke. Visit strokeawarenessfoundation.org to learn more and donate today. That's strokeawarenessfoundation.org. Welcome back to the David Pollack Show. I had Gabe singing Hungry Eyes in the background here. So we're in a new studio. I don't have an on-air sign, so I have to wait for him to tell me. So I had to listen to him singing Hungry Eyes until he told me I was back on the air. So this is what I do for the listeners of this show. Anything I can do for you guys, I do, if that means listening to Gabe sing. So we're back. Crypto Lawyer is still here. Oh, and then for those of you watching the live stream on the social media, I apologize that the sound wasn't there. Again, we're in a new studio. We're trying new things. So you missed my outstanding opening monologue. I'll go and get that audio uploaded later. So in case you really want to know what you missed. But let's get right back into it. Crypto Lawyer. So do you think this special prosecutor was appointed to insulate the DOJ from congressional oversight into this Hunter Biden investigation? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you have someone who has been, and by the way, for people that don't know, Weiss is actually a Trump appointee, and he stays on, and now he's investigating Hunter Biden. And the part about being a special counsel is that you can't be a special counsel if you're working for DOJ. It's just unconstitutional. You can't do it. So what happens is, they're going to have to sort this out. But you have Weiss, who's a U.S. attorney. By the letter of the law, the U.S. attorney, David Weiss, he cannot become a special counsel. And there are certain rights and privileges that come with it being a special counsel, which I'm going to get into real quickly. But, it's really interesting that everything of the past just doesn't seem to coincide anymore when it comes to Biden, but especially Garland. Garland, I think, is a scorned individual that missed his spot for history at SCOTUS. And now he's at DOJ and he's burning it down. And, you can see what he's doing. You can see what he's doing left and right. The person in Utah who was assassinated, all of these indictments on Trump. This is not Biden doing this. Because as you said, prior in your monologue, which I did love, by the way.
Thanks.
Biden doesn't know what ice cream he's having. He just wants to have ice cream. He just wants to have, he wants to hang out, give him his pills. That's it. The problem is a special counsel they are independent. They don't answer to the current administration, and they don't answer to Congress. So what happens is that David Weiss is essentially becoming insulated from congressional oversight. He's becoming further insulated. Now, if there's a deal set up, who knows? I would not put it past him. But if there's a deal set up with Garland, then no one's going to know about it but them. But Weiss has now Garland has now elevated Weiss to not only being part of the DOJ, but now being insulated as a special counsel that is going to have to report essentially to no one and has no oversight to anyone. This is very worrisome, coming on the heels of a guy, and as you said, has an unlawful, a too good to be true deal that he tries to pursue with Hunter Biden. The judge asked about it, and then what does Weiss do? He files a notice of voluntary dismissal in Delaware to find venue somewhere else. Well, that tells me one of two things. It tells me, number one, which they both could be true, but number one could be Weiss is incompetent and he doesn't know where to bring a case. That's probably not true, right? Number two is Weiss is judge shopping and he wants a better venue now for Hunter. So it's very concerning. It's very concerning, David.
Yeah, and that's what was my question to you is, do you think Merrick Garland and Weiss and all of these brilliant, I mean, look, for as much criticism as DOJ gets, these people are not dumb people. They're very smart people. They know exactly what they're doing. So, and that was my question. So do you think this is all, do you think Merrick Garland knows that the appointment is unconstitutional? And as a result, even if he does find wrongdoing, that brings up the possibility of anything found during this investigation could be thrown out because it was unconstitutionally obtained. So do you think they're doing this on purpose?
As you said, Garland is smart. All these people are smart. They're smart. Why Garland would elevate Weiss, who was a Trump appointee at the time? And by the way, about a year ago, if people don't recall this, the GOP was asking for David Weiss to be appointed. It wasn't until some could say he may have been compromised one way or the other. I don't know if he's compromised. What I'm saying is that the David Weiss that was tasked to do this investigation is not the David Weiss that gave that deal to Hunter Biden, is not the David Weiss that is now trying to change venue to go where venue is also proper to go judge shopping. And you make a great point about, what we would call the fruit of the poisonous tree, where you start somewhere, if something's unlawful, everything afterwards is going to be unlawful. So we're at the point now, this is one of the basic premises of a special counsel, their insulation. And one of the bigger premises is that they don't come from DOJ because they don't have that oversight. They're supposed to be beyond reproach. They're supposed to be unimpeachable. So who do you bring in? You bring in someone from DOJ who's already working on the case. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, GOP Congress, I think 30 congressmen last year asked for Weiss to be appointed. There is no upside in this investigation to have David Weiss continue on this investigation. There needs to be a fresh start. There's too much tarnishment on this. And thank God for that judge that asked a few simple questions about going forward and about immunity, because if it wasn't for that, this would have gone through. And it's really disturbing that Hunter Biden and the Biden family lives by a different set of rules.
Yeah, and now it looks like it's going to go through anyway because now he's getting the immunity by de facto immunity because this entire investigation is most likely going to be unconstitutional at the end of the day. So I think he's just doing what he wanted to do. He's just being clever. And that goes to my last question to you. Well, it may not be my last. We have 5 minutes. We'll see.
Sure.
But now here we already talked about the DOJ being smart people. So smart, in fact, that they're going to create a special prosecutor knowing that it's going to damage the case. And then if you look at the lengths in which they've gone now in Miami and now in DC to find reasons, to find crimes to charge Trump with. Now, this is what people need to pay attention to. These, if you read, because when you were first on my show, we talked about the South Florida indictment. We talked about the classified documents indictment. You said, the indictment itself is pretty bad. These people know what they're doing. Now, Trump might inevitably be successful, But these people know what they're doing. They're very good at what they do, and that's what concerns me. If they're this smart to do these kind of things, does Trump stand a chance against this DOJ? What happens at the end of the day if they're willing to go through these lengths to protect some people and go after others? And I haven't even gotten to Georgia yet. I'll try to get into there after this comment.
Right.
But what do you think about that?
Yeah. So you make a great point. I think
I do make good points, don't I?
Goes, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You absolutely do. And I got to say, the Florida case is even more perplexing because for your listeners out there that haven't seen the search warrant has to be particularized when it comes to location, where they're searching, why they're searching, and what they're searching for. Attachment B in the Southern District of Florida case against Donald Trump is patently overbroad, vague, it's ambiguous. So if there's not a motion to dismiss done, which, by the way, remind me of that when we get to Georgia, because the foreperson is a wacko there. But outside of that, when you get to the Southern District of Florida case, the motion to suppress is patently on its face, cannot withstand the Fourth Amendment. Attachment B talks about any and all boxes that may have markings. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a couple sentences long. It's essentially go in the house and take everything from Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
That will not withstand constitutional scrutiny when it comes to Judge Cannon in Fort Pierce. I've practiced before her more times than I can count. It will not pass. As far as J6, and this is going to be a black pill, as far as J6 goes, I believe from November 6th to January 21, Trump was not only within his right, but it was also his duty to question state legislatures and electors about a midnight change and overcoming and Biden getting 81 million votes. It is going to be close to impossible for DOJ to prove, which they have alleged, that from November 6th to January 21, Donald Trump knew he lost the election and was making false and fraudulent allegations. They will not be able to prove that. Here's the kicker. It's not going to matter. People are not going to like that. They're going to unfollow me on Twitter. But I've been saying this, and until something changes, having a J6 defendant in D.C., DOJ is batting 1,000. They're perfect in every jury trial they go to. And by the way, Judge Chukta, who is currently the judge for Trump's case, if she doesn't recuse herself, has open patent animus in her opinion about other defendants. She brings up Donald J. Trump still remaining free and not being in jail. How could that judge possibly preside in the case? How can Donald Trump possibly get a fair trial where 95 to 97% voted Democrat, where every J6er who has gone before a jury in D.C. has been found guilty?
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's not even the end of
Right.
the unfairness of a lot of these cases. And I'm getting ready to go to break. Crypto Lawyer, thank you so much for, and I got a minute
Thank you,
left.
brother.
I'm going to talk us to the break, Gabe, so don't send me off too early. But Crypto, thank you so much for being on the show again. We'll talk soon. Guys, if you want to hear more from Crypto, we got a Twitter space tonight at 8:30. If you go to the Pollock Show on Twitter, we're going to be talking about this for a few more hours after the show. So make sure you go over there if you want to hear from more Crypto Lawyer. He has his own spaces too, and they're fantastic. I go into them. I learn a ton from him. He's a brilliant guy, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Guys, look, this is only the beginning. I mean, in Georgia, all of this is to make Trump look bad. They want to put the Georgia one on television so you could see how much of a criminal Donald Trump is. All of this is to hurt him, but you know what? It's not going to hurt him. I already showed you the polls. Trump is going to continue to improve. Trump is going to win the nomination, and he'll probably be president. I'm saying that right now. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what everybody feels like in this country right now and why everybody's upset with the Men North of Richmond. We're going to be talking about Oliver Anthony's song, a good friend of mine, AJ Penta, the East Coast cowboy, country singers coming on the show to talk, and a lot of that right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
With today's economic environment, it's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
David Pollock here. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more information on any of our sponsors, or perhaps you want to hear a replay of a past show, make sure to visit thedavidpollockshow.com. There, you'll also find our latest articles, links to our social media, and opportunities to become a sponsor yourself. So remember to visit thedavidpollockshow.com.
Are you an insurance agent or property manager looking for a reliable and accurate property inspection? Floridian Property Consultants specializes in citizens insurance packages and replacement cost appraisals, so you can get bound quickly, easily, and accurately. FPC's experienced inspectors will make sure each assessment meets all the insurance carrier standards while ensuring that you don't pay for more than you need. Work with a company that respects your time and budget as much as you do. Visit online at FloridianPropertyConsultants.com. That's FloridianPropertyConsultants.com.
Well, I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for both pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is.
I'm going to let this play for a few minutes, guys. This is the song from Oliver Anthony. Richmond, North of Richmond. Everybody's been talking about this. Gabe, you can fade it down now. So everybody's been talking about this over the weekend. It's crazy. It came out of nowhere. And, basically it was I don't know if I guess it was on YouTube or somewhere. Somebody posted it on Twitter. And if you've seen the video, I don't know if you've seen it, but you should go and find it. It basically, it's just a guy in a microphone standing in the woods, and it's gone viral. The guy went from, having maybe 50,000 followers on Instagram to hundreds of thousands of followers. So basically now he's just blowing up, and it's a cool song. It is. Now, of course, because Republicans like it, conservatives like it, they're starting to trash this guy and say all kinds of things about him and say all kinds of theories about who he is or why the song went viral and whether it was organic or not, or, talk about it, maybe his history with alcohol use or whatever. Of course, you have to go and attack the man, because if we don't like your message, you have to be taken down. And so the deal is, I wanted to talk tonight about this, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this. If you haven't, you got to check it out. But my question, and guys, this is on the heel of Jason Aldean's song, Try That in a Small Town, if you remember. Again, controversy, because he was complaining about the status quo of things in America. Same thing that Oliver's doing. He's not a Republican, I don't even think, because in other songs, he complains about both Democrats and Republicans. He's just upset with the status quo. That's the point of his song. The rich men north of Richmond. It's D.C. It's the people in Washington that are running this country, Democrats and Republicans. It's the people who are responsible for your groceries being $5-6 for a carton of eggs, $5 for a gallon of milk, for your gas being $4 a gallon. Those are the Richmond North of Richmond who are responsible for all of that. And if you're annoyed about it, like a lot of people are, if you don't like the outcome of election, if you don't like Trump being indicted 4 different times and what looks like the weaponization of the DOJ, it's those Richmond North of Richmond. And that's what he's talking about. It's not just Democrats. Remember, if you heard Crypto Lawyer in the last segment, some of these people are appointed by Trump. Doesn't matter if they're Democrats or Republicans, if they're conservative or liberal. What's going on in this country right now, and what all of you are feeling right now, a lot of you who might be registered Republican or Democrat or not registered anything at all, maybe you vote, maybe you don't think it matters. It's this feeling that you don't control this government anymore. It controls you. It wants to know what you're doing, who you're talking to. You're afraid to speak out. You think they're listening to you? It's one of these things where, you know, I had my daughter listening to a congressional hearing on something. And it was like 2-hour hearing, it was the UFO hearing. And she was interested. What do you mean there's UFOs? I'm like, just listen to the hearing. So she's listening to it. At the end of the hearing, she goes, Dad, how could these people talk about the government like that? Aren't they going to get in trouble? My 12-year-old thinks that you're not allowed to talk openly about the government or you'll get in trouble. Where in the heck did she learn that? I never told her that. I'm a lawyer. There's First Amendment rights. You're allowed to petition your government. But she doesn't think you can. Now, she's taking civics this year. She better get an A in it. But this is what I'm talking about. The people in this country don't feel like they're in control anymore. And when they hear something like Oliver Anthony's song, Men North of Richmond, they're like, man, that guy is saying the things that I'm thinking. And it's the same thing with Jason Aldean when he's trying to try that in a small town. He's sick of seeing, if you saw in San Francisco, there was another, I think it was somewhere in California, a mob of people ran into the store and started like 40 or 50 ransacking it, stealing things. Somebody had bear spray and sprayed the one security guard that tried to stop him. People are sick of seeing it. They're sick of seeing the violence, the murder in places like Chicago, in places like D.C., a place with the strictest gun laws in the country. Their murder rate is they're on pace to beat Chicago. It's hard to see if you're just an average American sitting at home wondering what's going on in this country. And then you go and think you have an election and you send people to Washington, D.C., and then nothing ever changes. And then somebody like Donald Trump comes along, comes down an escalator, and says, you know what? I'm going to take all this power from these people, these Men North of Richmond, and I'm going to give it back to you. He said that in his inauguration. Democrats, Republicans, generations of politicians who hate his guts sitting behind him. They heard the message, and they went after him through impeachments, through investigations, through backstabbing, through undermining his entire administration. And then even further, after he's no longer president, just the idea that he can run for president again. They investigate him, indict him almost 4 times now. When people hear songs like Men North of Richmond, that's what they hear. They hear a man who is frustrated with the status quo. When they hear Try That in a Small Town from Jason Aldean, they hear a man who's frustrated. And if people like that message and subscribe to that message, what happens? They're called names. They're racist. They're white supremacists, white nationalists, populists. They're the worst people in America. How dare you form an opinion that goes contrary to what the mainstream political class demands that you think in this country? COVID. God forbid that you don't want to put on a mask or get a vaccine. That actually, I'm going to take a quick Pollock Show tangent. There's I want you to, if you go to Twitter, you need to go at Answers for Sean. I heard this guy's story, speaking of COVID. His son was forced to take the COVID vaccine because he wanted to play hockey. He died 30 days later. 17-year-old boy. He had a reaction, had a rash, raccoon eyes. His eyes got dark. He went to the emergency room. They sent him home. 30 days later, they found him dead next to his bed from a COVID vaccine. And if you didn't want to take, and remember, that's go to Twitter at Answers for Sean. Please donate to that guy's GoFundMe. He's going to, I don't know if it's GoFundMe, but one of the fundraising things, he's going to sue these people. And I hope he wins. But if you didn't want to take that vaccine, what happened to you? You lost your job. You were kicked out if you were in the military. If you were in the police, you lost your job. You were forced to take a vaccine you didn't believe in. You weren't even allowed to question it. Got deplatformed, got silenced. Same thing with the masks. God forbid you didn't want to do that. People are sick and tired of being told that they can't think anymore. And so when people like that release songs like that, it gives them the courage to speak out. So I think that's why that song is going viral. I think that's why Try That in a Small Town is going viral. And even if Oliver Anthony, even if this was maybe a media stunt, and maybe they just did it perfectly. It's still the narrative that people are missing in this country. They really want to hear that message, and I'm encouraged by it, and you're going to continue to see it. And if you look at the charts on iTunes, that song is the #1 hit right now in the country. That's how desperate people are to hear that kind of a message. People just want the truth. And this has everything to do with Trump, and I'm going to tell you why. In 2016, when he came down the escalator, he represented something. He stood on those debate stages with people like Jeb Bush, people like Chris Christie, people like Ted Cruz. He stood on stage with people who were supposed to be the next president. They did their time. They were good Republican soldiers, and now it was their time. And here's Donald Trump. How dare he stand in that middle of the stage, say things like build the wall, and actually do things that Americans wanted done for decades that were never done. Promises made, promises never kept. He promised to do the opposite. And because he stood in the center of that stage with all of these Republicans around him, people started to follow him. People started to listen to him. He started to represent the forgotten man. They're calling Oliver Anthony's song the working man's anthem. Donald Trump was the original author of the working man's anthem. It was a slogan, really, and it was Make America Great Again. That resonated with people, and it still does. And for people who literally have their skin crawl when they hear Make America Great Again, and for those who say it was never great to begin with, this is the very thing that people are standing up against. Those people who do not believe America's a great country. And they're standing up for the man who had the courage to say that it was great and it can be great again if we stop doing the same thing. President after president after president that delivers no results. And what did Donald Trump do for you when he became president? You remember? Your gas prices dropped. GDP went up. Grocery prices fell. We became oil independent. Our enemies started paying more attention to the things we said. Russia was weak. China was weak. We were outpacing them. We put tariffs on. We got out of ridiculous deals that got us nothing for years. We equalized the obligations to participate in NATO. We required that our allies act like allies on the global stage. We stopped giving terrorists money. We started fighting back against them. And guess what? When Donald Trump was president, we were in no war. We got out of a war. Well, we almost got out of the war until Joe Biden came and then withdrew early, killing 13 service members in the process. So when you hear songs like Men North of Richmond, and you feel that populist, it's not a bad word, when you feel people who have pride in this country and thinks we can be great again, what the Democrats and Republicans and all of these indictments have done is it's made Donald Trump somebody who represents the working man again, somebody who represents the forgotten man again. He was president for 4 years, and towards the end of his presidency, it was hard to think of him as being an outsider because now he was very much in the government. But somehow, in the last 3 years or 2.5 years under Joe Biden, and because of these indictments, Donald Trump is now the forgotten man's president again. And if you are not paying attention, Republicans, Democrats, everybody else who thinks Donald Trump can't win, the reason why Oliver Anthony's song is #1 is because people are angry. They don't want to take it anymore, and they want to see change. And now Donald Trump has found himself representing that change. He is the change. So it doesn't matter if you're singing a song in the woods of Virginia or you have an accent from Queens. The message is the same, and that's you will not be forgotten anymore. Donald Trump now is representing those people, and you can indict him all you want. Nothing's going to change. People are going to get behind him. You see it in the polls. So keep going after him. He is the man standing in the way. And the people he's protecting will defend him no matter what. I'm going to go to a quick break. More when we return. Gabe, you ready for that one?
I wish politicians look out for my
Hey friends, David Pollock here. If you're craving the best soft serve ice cream around, Topper's Creamery's got you covered. Serving the Apopka community for over a decade, Topper's is known for the finest old-fashioned custard-style soft-serve ice cream in a variety of flavors, from their French vanilla bean to exciting specials like German chocolate cake. But the experience doesn't end there. Be sure to grab a fresh baked waffle cone or a sundae topped with my favorite, the fresh baked brownies. They even offer pup cups for your four-legged friends. So hurry in to Topper's Creamery in Apopka, South 512 Hunt Club Road. Make sure to tell them David sent you. Seems Florida is a popular place to live these days, but do you know who is not feeling the effects of limited home inventory? Bugs. That's right. As popular as Florida is for people, pests like it even more, which is why I recommend pest control, termite treatment, and fertilization from Protex. With over 40 years of experience, their fully licensed, bonded, and insured team utilize state-of-the-art products and techniques to maintain a pest-free home. But that's not all. They also provide the highest quality fertilization and pond management services so you can have a green yard and not a green pond. So if you want to keep your lawn green and your home bug free, call Protex today at 407-542-0044 or visit them online at protexlawn.com. That's PROTEX lawn.com.
Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think it's tough.
Welcome back to the David Pollock Show. God, time is flying by. I want to go to my phones real quick. I haven't given out the number. 407-774-8255, 407-774-8255. I'm going to take a couple quick calls. Maurice is on the line. Maurice, go ahead. What you got to say, bud?
Hey there. How you doing?
Good. What you got for me?
I just wanted to say, great show, and I enjoy listening, and look forward to what you got in store for next week.
Well, who knows? Because and thank you very much. What happens is every week I plan something for the show, and then Trump gets indicted or something crazy happens like Alien. So that's why it's important to tune in every week, because everything changes. We bring you breaking news. But I appreciate you listening, and thanks for calling.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Yeah. AJ is on the line now. AJ, are you out there?
Yeah. How are you?
Yes, AJ. So I'm going to tell the listeners who you are. East Coast Cowboy AJ. He's a country singer, good friend of mine. And now I don't know if you saw on the promo, Sean Holcomb was going to come on too, as another country singer and a good friend of mine. His son actually broke his collarbone and he had to get surgery tonight. So our thoughts are with him tonight. But AJ was like, you know what? I'll come on. And I'm very, very happy you were here, because I want to ask you your opinion about what I said in the last segment about the pulse of America right now, especially with this music, Jason Aldean and Oliver Anthony and this. Do you feel the same thing out there as a country musician yourself? I mean, are you feeling, and you also do patriotic music, awesome patriotic music, and you guys need to check them out. But are you feeling the same thing out there with the pulse of America, or are they fed up?
Well, the issue is that conservative voices are being silenced to the point where it's completely unconstitutional, yet the left keeps getting away with it. So what happens is, the freedom of speech is completely being devastated in one form. There's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. And just because it's speech that they hate, all of a sudden now it's not allowed. You're not allowed to say, oh, no, I don't think there should be transgender strip shows in my kindergartner's classroom. Right. All of a sudden, now you're not allowed to say that. So one of the best weapons you can use in support of freedom of speech is music. And I think country music has really been making a stand. Where a few years ago, I did Living Free because it's the same thing. I got tired and fed up of what I was hearing, and I didn't like people telling me what I couldn't say. Especially when it wasn't violent, it wasn't bad, it was just my opinion. You don't agree with it, cool, you don't have to agree with it, but don't silence me because you don't agree with me. And you're really seeing that, start to manifest and start to take hold. Conservatives in the U.S., for the past few years, and it's getting worse and worse, their speech is being silenced so much that when people are standing up and saying, no, like, this needs to be said, and a great medium to do that is through music, all of a sudden now all those people that feel like their speech is being infringed upon, now they're going to have your back. Because they're saying, yeah, this guy, this girl, they're saying what I'm trying to say, but everyone's trying to step on me when I'm trying to say it. Yeah. So it's much more difficult to silence a song because you're really going to turn around and go, oh, wait, you don't like my song? You know, it kind of comes back to that. And that's, I think, it's a great thing. And you're starting to see that manifest. And like I said, I've been in the country music industry for a while, and you're seeing it there. You're seeing it in hip hop, and you're seeing it across the board.
You know, something else I'm seeing in music, and I like that you mentioned hip hop, because you're starting to see like collaborations too with Try That in a Small Town with hip hop artists. It seems that this I don't want to say populism because it's such a bad word, but it seems like this movement, this Make America Great Again is the only way I can describe it. This America First movement is now transcending racial barriers. It's actually uniting the country. And I'm seeing, and I think music is helping deliver that. It's showing people that we're not actually as divided as they want us to be. And this is why they attack these artists so much, because these artists are building bridges between people, because we're all suffering the same things right now. We're all angry about the same things right now. We're all mad about the same things because it's affecting us all the same. While Joe Biden smiles and says no comment when Hawaii is on fire, the rest of the country is like, what the heck, man? And that's regardless of your genre, your race, your sexual orientation, all of it. Americans are coming together, and it's these musicians and their music, I think, that's uniting us, right?
Absolutely. And because it's one of those things that, especially if you're already an established musician and you have fans from all walks of life, someone like Jason Aldean. Now, I'm sure a huge percentage of his fan base was conservative. You know, it's a country singer. You're going to have a lot of like rural and Midwestern country listeners. But I also know people in New York and in other, you know, major cities that I don't really know where they align politically, but I'm sure they're either moderate or to the left, you know, but they like Jason Aldean, or at least they like some of his songs. So all of a sudden it's an artist that they respect and that they listen to, kind of saying something, and you're getting that message out there, because when anybody else says it, all of a sudden they're immediately silenced. They're immediately written off as a racist, homophobic, toxically masculine, big, you know, the whole list, they just go down.
It's crazy how they have that list queued up, isn't it? Like, it's like, how do we discredit somebody in 5 words? You know, Hillary Clinton started it with your basket of deplorables. But basically, if you say anything they disagree with, or if you have the script that they don't want you to have, they immediately start labeling you and shaming you and ridiculing you. So you're not, you know, they're bullying. That's what they do. They bully people into submission, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because psychologically, they're the ones that probably got bullied their whole life, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is kind of just a little bit. I'm sidetracking for a second here.
That's right. We do tangents on the David Pollack Show.
Yeah, I'll drop a pin. I'll get back to my original point.
Good idea.
But you're seeing the people on the left. It's all the betas. It's all, you know. It's there. If you stereotype traits of liberals, it's everything that represents weakness and that follower worker bee mentality. It's not the leaders, it's not the alphas. So now it's their turn, because they were the ones that felt bullied and felt left behind their whole life, and now they have this entire establishment at their back, and they go, no, it's our turn, we get to be the tough guy. And that's, but then they still have that Eric Cartman whiny run to mommy attitude. I forget what you said to me.
See, that's the problem when you go on a tangent. You forget the location of your vehicle. You're just wandering around the Disney parking lot right now, wondering where you parked your car.
Yeah, I had a point.
No, well, we were just basically talking. You know what? I forgot what we were talking about too. Let's move on.
It's my fault.
No, listen, I'm the most ADD person in the world in law school.
I got it. We were talking about getting bullied, and you're saying how they're bullying.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. I'm going on a tangent.
They're bullying freedom of speech, and how when somebody does speak out, you know,
they're bullied into submission.
And exactly.
Yeah.
And And to comment on your point earlier, how it's bringing people together, I think it absolutely is. Because like I was speaking about Jason Aldean earlier, but you're seeing a lot of like rappers, white guys, black guys, like all different races that are all of a sudden saying like, hey, like you can dislike Trump, but you know what? Things are probably or definitely a lot worse now than they were a few years ago.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, when you have people that are just like, hey, wait, I don't want to spend $9 on a dozen of eggs. And now they're throwing it in a rap song, and that song has a wide array of audience. Now it's not just that the constant liberal propaganda getting into these kids' heads. Now you have a different avenue, and it's people that they idolize and that they look up to and artists that they listen to. And that's like the power of music. Like I said, when you just come out and say something and you put a little vlog or a podcast up on Instagram or any of the social media things that gets flagged, you have the banner across the bottom that says false information. Music is the way that you can bridge that gap.
Yeah. Well, and music and musicians have so much bigger audiences and reach than politicians. I'm looking right now on Twitter. Joe Biden has 37.3 million followers. Let's see what Taylor Swift has here. Hold on here. So Taylor Swift, which obviously that's probably a little slanted because she's probably the most popular person in the world right now, 94 million followers. Now, if Taylor Swift decided, and she doesn't follow me, by the way, she doesn't follow anybody according to her Twitter profile. But if Taylor Swift were to take a political position, it would immediately become a powerful, powerful message. And politicians realize that, which is why they try to discredit and silence these artists who come forward. But now they've always capitalized from Hollywood and musicians and the media and everybody with huge followings. They've always capitalized on them being in their favor. But that's starting to change. And now people are coming out, very popular people are speaking out against them, and they don't know what to do about it other than deplatform them and slander them and do all these other things. And I think that's the issue. They're trying to kill the messenger because they don't want that message getting out, because they've tried to carefully craft that narrative forever, that you need the government because the world is an unfair place. It's a racist place. It's a sexist place. It's a homophobic place. It's a bad place. And even the people who founded this country are bad people. The Constitution is a bad document. Schools are, everything is bad. And you need the government to save you, because all of these people are going to hurt you unless the government is here to protect you. And that is the narrative that they're losing control over. That is the narrative, the opposite of what Donald Trump says. And that's, this country is not a terrible place. This country is a great country, and you can succeed here. And it's not a racist country, and it's not a homophobic country, and it's not a terrible place. And our founding fathers weren't evil people, and our Constitution is great. How dare he? I got about a minute left in my show. I'll give you the last 30 seconds. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there was a poll recently released how majority of high school boys are identifying as conservative.
Yeah.
Because historically, being conservative was always the pro-establishment. They wanted to be a rebel, wanted to be a badass. You would go to the opposite end. Now they realize those are the ones that are being oppressed, and you have a whole movement of youth that are standing up and saying, you know what, this is how I be the tough guy. This is how I fight for what I believe in. And it's almost backfiring on the left.
Yeah, they always take issues further than they need to. It's the pendulum swing, They always take it a little too far, and that usually works in our favor. AJ, thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you and listen to your music?
They can just Google AJ Penta, Spotify, Apple Music, everything AJ Penta, Instagram at East Coast Cowboy. Everything's pretty much up there. We got a new one, Rattlesnake, dropping in about 3 weeks. So I think you'll all enjoy that one.
Guys, go check out AJ, East Coast Cowboy. Does a lot of great stuff, a lot of political content. That's good stuff, things you need to hear. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we've reached the end of another exciting David Pollack show. Again, if you want more, go to @ThePollack Show on Twitter. We're going to have a post-show space beginning at 8:30. We'll take your comments. We'll talk about this until you don't want to talk about it anymore. And as always, tune in every week, Monday night, 7 p.m. We will be back here next week talking about maybe another indictment. Who knows? But we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks for tuning in.
AM 950, FM 94.9. The Answer. WORL, Orlando. News, opinion, passion.